All right, hello everyone. This is Josh, also known as Yashu. You're just tuning into another episode of the TLOY Talks podcast. You know, you can get this on all platforms: Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Buzzsprout, much more. Definitely tap in. Like, also check out the Patreon as well too. And you know, I'm just gonna get it like started from here. So we have like one of the rising artists in the Toronto underground like music scene and all that too. Has done like a lot of shows for like a lot of platforms like Quota Toronto and like I think also like Fuck the Numbers and like a whole lot of other ones
We
too.
gonna get there soon. I got something tapped in with
And,
them. Don't worry.
I mean, has like worked with like the likes of like Dazzy and much more too. Has dropped like projects like Hate Me for Who I Was, Lottery Y2K, Skywalking, much more. We have WishGxd in the building. How are you doing today, man?
Big ups, big ups, big ups. Yo, shout out Yashu for having me today, man. Hey, I'm doing good today, man. I just came off Halloween. I got turned yesterday and I'm here now.
Yeah.
You know, we here to do business. So
Yeah.
shout out to them for having me today. You know, he even had to miss half of a shift, so you know what it is to get that money. So shout out to them for doing that today, man.
Yeah, nah, but like, you know, it was like, you know, it's usually dope to have like a lot of people who come from like different scenes and all that too, and like connected you for like Dazzy and all that. Like, it is like pretty interesting to hear the music, to tap in with the sound, the culture and all that too. And like, I'm like listening to the stuff right now too for like Hate Me for Who I Was, Lottery Y2K, Skywalking, and then you had like new songs that Compelled, like Badlands, Mob Ties. It has like a unique sound too, because it kind of reminds me of like Ski Mask, like X, like around that time too. Like, you do have like some like Denzel Curry,
old
Young
school
Simi type like
sound,
influences as
yeah.
well too. So it is like interesting to like know and all that for sure, you know.
Well, yeah, hell yeah. And I mean, that's the influence of that scene that came out of there. So a lot of people don't see it, but this scene that's coming up right now, that at least for what I can see for it, this is like what Florida had when they were coming up. They had the SoundCloud era. We might not have a specific platform that we're picking, which we really should do, guys. You know, shout out to y'all in the city, but thing is, the scene that we have that we're growing right now, that is pretty much the new wave SoundCloud scene that's coming up right now.
Yeah.
Out of Toronto, we're having the same thing, you know. So that's why a lot of these sounds, you'll see them come up again, but they're so different.
Yeah.
Nothing's the same. And I'm someone that I don't make nothing that's the
Yeah,
same.
for
Every
sure.
song I make is different. So
Yeah, man.
you know, maybe I am the X of the scene. Who knows? I'm the hype beast. I go to every show. I support everybody. I don't care about no problems. So you know, maybe that's me, but that's how I operate, and that's why I'm here.
And like, from seeing the Toronto underground to like, it is going to like a high rise too, because of like Shaq Diesel, of like
Shout
a lot
out
of people,
Shaq. Shout out on Shaq.
like First Class Fest, and like, you know, like Fuck the Numbers, and then Quota Toronto too. So like, it is like amazing to see and all that. And from you've also had like a big reputation with your music and all that too, with a lot of like fame, like within like the followers and much more too. And we'll definitely dive deep on that.
For sure.
But to get more onto like your story for a bit too, so you grew up in Brampton. So like, what was like the environment like for you growing up there? Would you say it was like blessed and all that?
Honestly, I could say, so I actually didn't even come from Brampton. I actually grew up in Toronto until I was about 12, and then I moved out to Brampton for about 5-6 years now. I've been living there since. I would say I felt very out of place at that time, right? So this was before I had the music, before I was the guy I am now. I used to have a lot of self-confidence issues, weight issues, body image issues. So anybody that's dealing with that, don't worry. Even the famous people that look so damn good be like, oh, I'm stunning on my chain. No, we go through that too, man. So don't even worry about it. Don't sweat it. But it's just the fact of the matter. I used to deal with those issues. I used to not even feel, you know, at home here. And it took a lot of time for me to even, you know, get in with people like that. And even sometimes I still feel that way. I still miss home, you know?
Yeah, no,
So I still deal with that. But growing up, I think I met quite a few people that I think resonated with me and started to push me in the direction of music that I have. So I have my homeboys like Roshan, Antoine, and them, Ramazan. You know, shout out to you guys. They really were there when I was coming up. There's videos. They have videos of me when I did my first like recordings and everything.
Yeah.
So I found a lot of good people that, you know, kept me going. Also, shout out Francis. You did my first interview for me. Now look how far we've gotten. So, you know, I have people that got me here, and I got people who pushed me to where I am now.
Yeah,
and,
man.
you know, shout out to my friends, of course, but we'll get to that later.
Yeah, I mean, like friends and like family are like very much like everything too. So like, I love the idea of like connectivity and like, you know, getting to like know like a lot of people too, to seeing like the opportunities that arise and all that too. And like, I guess, was it something that kind of came like naturally growing up too, or would you say it was like kind of like a process to like gain like a lot of like friends that could like help you throughout the way and all that?
I've always been someone that's a very good people person. I could talk to people. I'm very open like that. I could talk for fucking ever. So I could make this thing go off for 2 hours or 1 hour, 10 minutes. It don't matter. But when it comes down to it, it's easy for me to connect, but for me to really connect with people and say that I could call them friends, brothers and stuff, that takes a lot of period of time. That takes a lot of things I got to go through. So fact of the matter is, I think it didn't take me long to find them as friends. It just took me a long time to accept them as friends, and that's a big thing. So you could find people, befriend them, but to accept them into your life as integral parts of that, it takes a long time.
Okay, and I mean Brampton, like it has like a very extensive scene from like the likes of like Tory Lanez and like Toby and like Alicia Cara
Free
to like
toy.
Dr. Bushman and all that too to like For Y'all Entertainment, like who now have like an actual like TV show that you could like access like
Like,
on
that's
Crave and all that too.
crazy.
So like was it like big back then, like based on the fame and reputation, or was it just like only a community like at the time?
Nah, for the community that it was, I've only really started to see how big it's gotten in the last few years. I think after Tory Lanez kind of left the city, there wasn't really anything popping off other than more cultural things that were, they were more of a Punjabi kind of sound, right? And a lot of people may not listen to that. And I should tell you, you should listen to it. They got some crazy producers out there. But for me, the scene didn't really grow until I started finding more, they started connecting with me a little bit more. So I was more tapped in with the Toronto scene than the Brampton scene until relatively recently. So even guys like Spitty, shout out Spitty. I didn't even know who he was until recently, and I seen what he's doing. He's doing a big magazine thing. So shout out to him for that too. He's putting the city on in a different way. I'm seeing the different scenes of different people coming out of the city now. I have guys like what's his name? Live Lavish ST. Shout out to Lavish ST, man. Very cool guy. There was a young kid I was mentoring, M2 Keys. Shout out to him too. He went to jail, but he's free him. He'll be out soon, man. Me and him, we gonna work.
All right.
So you have a few people in the scene. There's a lot more underground hidden potential that a lot of people is like, they don't really take it serious, which is okay. Like, it may not be your thing. But there's a lot of guys who have God-given fucking talent. And, excuse my French here. I hope they bleep it out for the thing. We'll have a uncut version. But anyway, so bottom line, there's a lot of guys who have a lot of talent and they're very uncut gems, but they don't take it serious enough, I'm one of the few guys who stepped out of that comfort zone, and a lot of people look at me and say, hey, you're a big inspiration because I never knew that I could do this until I saw you do it. I'm like, yeah, bro, you can do it. It's independent. I'm fully independent doing this, I'm not just, a rapper. I'm an artist. I'm a guy that can manage other artists. I'm a guy that runs blogs. I can do anything. I market you. I can do everything. So I'm trying to grow the city and grow the culture myself, just like what Spitty's doing. So I'm going to probably have to get tapped in with him later after this interview, see what we can get done.
Yeah, that's facts, man. Yeah, nah, shout out to Spitty too, and like shout out to everyone that's like mentioned too. And to even get more into your introduction to music, like, what was it like, and like who were like some artists or genres that you like kind of grew up like listening to and all that?
Ooh, that's a good one. So if you had to start, Bob Marley was actually a really big thing that I would come up with because, I grew up in a Jamaican household. So I'm Canadian. I'm full Canadian. I was born Canadian. I was born here, but my full background is full Jamaican, right? So I grew up with a lot of Bob Marley, Buju Banton, Popcorn, Alkaline, Vibes Cartel. I grew up with all of them. And then eventually, once I started learning more about other kinds of music other than Jamaican music, I was interacting with Michael Jackson, Whitney Houston, Celine Dion, even scores and stuff. Hans Zimmer. I listened to a lot of different things. Drum and bass, EDM. I would take out of my my comfort zone in terms of genres, and that's why I'm so versatile now because I drew inspiration from a lot of those people. So I could do a rock track, still rap on a rock beat like it's a rap beat, even if it's just a rock beat. A lot of others can't even do that. So I feel like that's where I got a lot of my stuff from. A lot of rock stuff, Disturbed, Device, 3 Days Grace. You had Asking Alexandria. You have a lot of these different bands that come up too that I could say were a big part of that in terms of building my aggressive side of my music.
Okay.
Whereas if it's like other than just rappers, but if you want me to name my favorite rappers too, we got Tupac, Nas, Biggie. I've been listening to a lot of Retta lately. Shout out to Shaq for that. A lot of Retta lately. He's been cool. Phaso. Obviously, you have Big X up in there. That's the biggest inspiration I have. Travis Scott, a little bit of A$AP Rocky.
Okay.
It's a whole mix. I have a lot of different artists, but those are the few I can name off the top of my head.
Oh, that's facts, man. No, it's very extensive and like very unique too. Like for me, like whenever I go to like the gym and all that too, like I'll have a set playlist from like what I listen to from like podcasts and all that too. So I'm listening to like Avril Lavigne and like High Tech and like like Mobb Deep and like all that type of stuff too. And like
Mobb Deep.
I'll like listen to like some like R&B type stuff. And then there was actually an exclusive Kanye song that I was like listening to like a while back too. It's like on a movie soundtrack back in like 2012. But like it sampled some like a song from like the game's like Red Album Project too. And like I thought like the like audio from that, I thought that was like Friday that was actually like singing it, like Friday, like the R&B singer. So, but like the creativity of that song too, it just like kind of blew like my mind away too. And then you have like some other stuff like G Dep, and then like I was like listening to like more like Mexican OT and like a whole lot of other like a whole lot of like other people too. So, and even like some R&B as well too. So it'll be interesting, you know.
That's true. That's true. You get to see a lot of the mix of styles come in to see how that builds different, more unique styles of rap, and that's kind of why I'm here. That's what I like to do. I like to try and delve into that.
Yeah, man. And to get more onto like your side on like rapping and like making music, like how did you get into that? And like, did you had like any like family like that was like making music, or like friends that kind of like were making music and like tapped in from there?
Um, That's a good one. For my dad is actually a really big part of. He was pushing the music for me because this was years after he was done it. But he had a lot of recording, DJing gear. He used to do that. My uncle does that. My godfather's father does that. So I have a lot of different people that were doing music that I was always in passing with. And with my dad, he actually ended up giving me a microphone. I don't remember which one it is. It's like an old dynamic microphone, old condenser dynamic microphone. He gave me that, and that's what I probably was like, you know what, let me see what this is. And I used to be a big dancer, so I was always around music in some shape or form and capacity. I just didn't really get into rapping. I didn't think I could do it. And then I think me and Antoine ended up going to like a source. We bought like a $10 mic. And once I got in the studio, like the studio was some little walk-in closet, little 5x10 thing. I had to stand in there, throw a blanket over my head. I remember that. But yeah, no, that's where I started. And that's like from I learned how to rap, they said, yo, you got something. So I recorded my first song, Lesser 88. And once I did that, like that track got 1.1K, and I was in grade 9, grade 8, man. Grade 8 going in grade 9 at that time. And I'm like, wow. So I'm seeing all the money. I'm like, it's not even about the money nowadays. I just seen the culture, and the culture needs something. So I was like, hey, I'm gonna do it.
Yeah, I think I remember like the Migos like doing that one time too, where I think they created like a little like closet and all that too. They took out like like how they have like those like shelves too to like put your clothes. So
They just took it out.
Yeah, and then they just added like the stand, the mic, and like they were like rapping there too, and like you can make something out of nothing. Like it works out either way.
Easy, because all the thing that you need, bro. And I'm telling this to anybody out here that wants to start music. The only thing you need to start with is a working laptop, like a USB microphone if you can't afford like a whole setup and everything. So all you need is a plug and play USB microphone and the sound space you're in. So a closet, throw some mattresses or some blankets up. You could do it. Anybody can do it. You just have to sharpen your skills where it happened, then you could catch up to me. But anyway, yeah, I know what time it is, man.
Yeah, man. Likewise. And as far as like wanting to work with like someone like musically and all that, like do you have any people like in mind that you want to like collab with and all that?
The list is long. Big Baby Gucci, I've been talking to him a little bit. Shaq Diesel, me, I wanna get tapped in with him and his people. I actually am a little bit tapped in with R2Rmo. Nothing crazy. I just, that's somebody I definitely want to work with in the near future. I did see him do a track he's been doing some big moves with Skepta out there and over in the UK. I got I still want to work with Travis Scott to this day. That might be big dreams, but big dreams, I got them to work for. YHN Drex, you got I'm John, I still want to work with. Asara, me and him have a track coming out. Me and Real have another track coming out soon too. I also want to work with quite a few guys coming up. Swappa, definitely want to work with him. His energy, Osama's son, Big O. I'm trying to see him when he come down here. So when he comes down in November, maybe me and him can get tapped in. Me and him can link up, make something. We also got shit. Like the list is not too long, but the list is long. I can't give up everything, man. So I can give you a little thing, little 1, 2, 1, 2, but I can't give you everything. But that's everything for now.
Yeah, no, for sure. Just a quick question. Who do you think might peak the next 5 years? Ian or Netsmond?
You know what? Based on how the music is going right now, I think Ian's gonna peak within the next 5 years, just because he's getting a lot of comparisons to Yeet, and his drop against him. I'm pretty sure he actually did lose the amount of sales against him, so you could kind of see his sound is being replicated by more people, and he's just being treated as more of a Yeet clone now than anything, even though he had his own identity a few months ago. So I think he made a big mistake in dropping the same time as Yeet, because now that's only going to draw more comparisons between the two rather than have him, cut himself away from that and create his own identity for himself. So I think he's going to peak within the next 5 years and then go down. Whereas Netspend, he doesn't stay in Osama Sun's shadow. He's making a big name for himself. He's being his own person. He's being his own boss, and he's just doing his thing.
Yeah.
And, because he has, now you have his subculture growing. You have, Two Hollis and everything coming from there, Lifeless Garments, all those people that come from his genre. They kind of move away from that. So you can kind of see where the culture is getting split up in different places, whereas someone like Ian, he's more in the shadow of Yeet, in the comparisons of Yeet, whereas Netspend is, he's Netspend. He's doing his own thing. Sure. I'll say by next year he's headlining or he's co-headlining a Rolling Loud show, man.
I feel like nowadays too, I know with Ian, I think there is an open time for him to kind of dig deep into other styles of music too. I feel like he'll kind of run the same lane as Post Malone too, when he first started out too, because people never knew how to define Post Malone back then and all that. So I think with Ian, because he's from Texas and there is a lot of influences around him, I feel like he'll work with a lot of people out of the cut too. He was with 027 Kwani and all that.
We love 027, man. I love 027 Kwani. That's a good one.
And then also friggin' Chief Keef and all that too, and Yachty too. So he'll probably do the whole Detroit stuff. But I think with Netspend too, because I've seen certain styles of Net for a bit too. I feel for me he kind of reminds me of a diet version of Maddox mix of Wayland and all that too, because Maddox, he was this young badass kid with the fidget spinner, and then with the whole long hair around him too, experimenting with different sounds too. I feel when you hear Netspend, you're gonna hear maybe
Maddox. Yeah. A lot of people were bringing up comparisons with him too. I do see the comparisons. I do think that there is Maddox is the OG. He's the one that started that culture for sure. I just think that where Netspend is now, he's gotten too big to be directly compared to the guy like that. Because Maddox is big as hell too. Anybody knows Maddox, you know everybody. So I think he's not bigger than Maddox. I think he's gotten big enough to a point where you could say that he is his own person, but you could definitely draw comparisons between the two. I just think that when you say it versus Ian and Yeet, the differences are a little bit more minute. They're a little bit more, they're more narrow. So it's harder to say that he's not more comparable to him than the other.
Yeah.
No, so that's my take on it.
No, to each their own and all, So
that's it.
To speak more on your stage name, how did you get that name? What's the inspiration behind that?
So the inspiration that for WishGxd in and of itself, and yes, I do actually have the chain on my neck, but the actual inspiration for this name comes from the fact that I used to be. A lot of people used to say I was a bit of a narcissistic kind of person. I had a lot of those tendencies I was dealing with mentally. So that was one thing I was dealing with growing up. And I wanted to turn over a new leaf to kind of be more of a selfless person that could, give people what they need, help out people when they need, try and be a better person. That was a big thing for me. So what ended up happening was I went through different names like Kid Frieza at one point because, Kid Trunks was bumping. I was a big X fan at the time. And then once he kind of died, I took the X. So the O that's in God, I decided to make that an X in honor of that because that's something that's a piece of that in my name. That's a piece of my inspiration. So that's where that would come from. But the wish in my name is something that a lot of people call me. That's my main nickname with a lot of people because I'm always there. I'm always there to help. I'm always there to be reliable. I'm always there to grant people's wishes when they need something. It's a fact. You could ask people. A lot of people, when you watch this interview, I need y'all to drop some comments on this video when it's done. Do I grant your wishes? Yes, I do. But yeah, that's how I be doing it. So that's where a lot of the name comes from. Long story short, I want to be able to help a lot of people. I want to open my own foundation at some point to be able to help the less fortunate, whether that's, toys, whether that's games, whether that's anything. It doesn't matter. Just, I want to be able to grant people's wishes when they need it. And, and it's nothing about being a god. I'm human. I bleed just like everybody else, I'm not above anybody else. The God in my name is not meant to be something that sees me above everybody. It's meant to actually be humbling. A lot of people don't know that. They see the God, but I bleed just like the rest of you. I'm human just like the rest of you. I'm human, man.
Yeah, man.
I'm just here to help everybody out and just live a good life like that.
So they kind of see you a little bit more like an idol, in a sense too, but in a giving type way and all that.
In a giving sense, big giving sense. Because if you see me as an idol, I don't want you to see me as an idol. I want you to see me as a perfectly normal human being that is capable of doing good things, because that is what we need more of in the world. And the more we have of that, the better the culture will be. Why? Because we're gonna do more good things for one another, just like you. You don't. I'll tell you what. Me and him don't really know each other. We know from a friend of a friend. He came here. He sacrificed half of his shift to get me in here, and he's still making that money, man. So it's free. He doesn't do this for everybody. I'm not too special. I'm just lucky. But no, genuinely, like good things like that, little good things like that, it's paying it forward. And I think that's something that my name and my identity, I want that to be that, so that I could pass it forward for other artists, and then we continue to build the culture, because that's why a lot of people think Toronto's a city of hatred. And not even 6 years ago, I think it was. But you probably have more questions about the Toronto scene. We'll get back to that after.
No,
so long story short, I just want to be able to give things to as many people as possible, just help people and be a good person. That's the point of my name.
Right. That's facts.
That's it.
And you know, you being in the studio and all that, like what would like a day like making music be like for you? Do you have like a routine and all that?
It depends on which studio I'm in. If I'm at home and I'm in my little home studio, my little corner where I make my stuff, I don't really have a routine. Whenever something just hits me or I get a creative flow, I'm there. I make something. I start workshopping it. But if I'm in the studio, I'm only in the studio. I don't waste time in the studio, because then it's like you get a different side of me. So when I'm in the studio, I'm gonna be different. Where I'm gonna come in, I'm gonna have 1, 2, 3, 4 songs written, ready to go. So shout out Night Shift Studio. You guys got 4 of my tracks done. So like that kind of thing, you could ask them. I used to always do that. I would come in, I'd be like, yo, let's get recording, 4 tracks done. By the time the studio session done, I still have like 2 hours left. So they spend that time mixing. That's why I like it. I like my studio sessions. I like to get my stuff done, ready, done, recorded, hopefully mixed in the same session. That's how I like it.
All right. And like, do you have like kind of like sort of like studio rules and all that too? Like, you know, like it's okay to like smoke weed, like take your licks and all that too, or like the amount of people like bring in, or like how's that process like?
You guys might want to bleep this next part out, but no fuckery of any kind. If I'm recording and you start fucking up my my recording session, you gotta go. It don't matter who it is, it don't matter how you do it, you just gotta go. But otherwise, like you could chill, you could do whatever you want. You can smoke weed if the studio allows it to. Like I don't care. As long as I get my music done and I'm having a good time and everybody's having a good time, nobody's giving problems to either the people that are giving us the hospitality to use their space, or, you know, none of them giving problems to my people or my people giving problems to each other. That's all I care about. Then we have a good studio session. And if you leak my stuff, you can't do that. Like if I let you record my stuff and you leak it, okay, cool, because I let you record it. But if I like genuinely say before you come into the studio, do not leak it, do not record a thing. Don't record a thing, otherwise I will beat your ass. I will beat your ass. I will pull a Kanye, have the whole thing, and just throw you out of the studio, man. I can't do that.
Yo, do you ever have like any like shorties like in the studio and all that too?
Which one?
Like shorties and all that too.
Shorties, man, sometimes they'll pull up, yeah, sometimes they'll ask, other times, you know, they'll pull up with my mans, like they'll bring their shotties and everything. But I don't really have too many shotties in the studio. I like to keep it focused, but you know, if there's shotties in the studio, I don't want to pull up, just pull up, man. Just keep it a movie, keep it chill. When we make stuff, we make stuff. You want to record some stuff, you want to record a little intro or a little sample for me, hey, don't be afraid to hit me up, man. Well, you know what it is.
And like, you know, when I see like, you know, like women like in the like underground scene and all that too, just like more as like fans and all that too, you'll see like various types. So you'll see one that'll wear like the whole like baggy clothes too, but then they'll have like the belly like showing for a bit too, like they're wearing like these like baggy jeans, and then there's like the ones that are like very dolled up,
the fur boots and everything. Yeah, I see you, man.
Yeah, like I remember, I think I went to Kame's event one time and all that too. This is like, I think like when we did the podcast like a long time, like I think back in April, like I went to his event too, and like I was like seeing like a lot of like the people like at that show too. Like a lot of them are like they have like their own fits, like those types that are like the whole like baggy fit, and then there's like the other ones that they'll wear like the furry boots and all that too. Like they're all dolled in like, you know, fish like the whole like fish skin type thing too. You know, like lacelets and all that.
Fishnets,
like, yeah, and like like the others that's like, you know, it's either like Y2K clothing like everyone, all that too. So I think that's like kind of like something that I'm seeing too, and I think I could give Molly Santana her praise on that too, because
Facts.
I think
Shout
she was
out
like the
Molly
first person
Santana.
that kind of brought that wave of like the whole like baggy clothing for a bit too. So yeah,
I feel like the wave was coming back, but she's definitely going to be the person that's going to popularize it back into the scene for sure. And I think she's been doing a great job of that. That's another person I would love to collaborate with. You did ask, so that's another person.
yeah,
So Molly, you hit me up at any time. Let me know when you want to make some music. We're gonna make some magic happen.
yeah,
But yeah, no, that the scene of the clothes, at least the fashion scene, I've been seeing that.
yeah,
But I also see some people pulling up with like fur coats and stuff. If you saw
yeah,
like the what was it? The DieselCon 2.0,
yeah,
you seen all mans pull up in different things.
yeah,
But some people have what I like to see more of though in the scene. Y'all gotta create more of your own clothes, man. Don't be afraid to do that. Don't be afraid to come out and sell it, make some money, bro. People are willing to buy whatever as long as it looks good enough and as
yeah.
long as it's functional enough and doesn't like tear itself apart in like 3
Yeah.
washes, you're good,
No,
bro.
that's facts, man.
So that a lot of people are bringing up different scenes. The Y2K scene's definitely coming back again.
Yeah,
I hope it doesn't get oversaturated too
yeah,
quickly because I know that's something that does happen up here.
yeah.
Puffer jackets, polo, and all that.
I
that
mean,
did happen.
yeah, I mean, Pink Panther and like was like doing that thing too. I think she's like another person that could say that changed the idea of like Y2K fashion
Yes.
too. Because like a lot of them are like Pink Panthers, is like kids either way. So yeah, man. But to speak more on the music too, because you have like "Hate Me for Who I Was," Lottery Y2K, Skywalking, and then like you have like your other stuff like "Compelled," Badlands, Mob Ties, The Boy Who Shot God. Like
Make
what
sure
were like
y'all go give that stuff a listen,
like
man.
what were like the creative processes and like inspirations for those?
The creative inspirations for a lot of different tracks. I'll start with Compelled. Compelled was a track that's actually 3 years old. I recorded that when I was back in college, man. So like, yeah, yes, I did go to college for 2 years. I did. Shout out Centennial. I did go to college for that. I recorded that track in college during a really bad time of my life. I wasn't ever planning to release it, but I had my current partner, Passion, if y'all don't know her, she's a clothing brand maker. You know, that's my girl. Shout out to my girl. But she told me that I should, drop that track because it's a very beautiful song. And it's never that I disagreed with it. It's just that song comes from such a different place in my heart. I never really wanted to release that because it's so raw. But I think that in doing that, a lot of people saw a different side of me. So that was one part of it. And the creative process for that was, just speak from the heart. That was that. Whereas now you have my project coming up, Hate Me for Who I Was, Love Me for Who I Am. That is a big callback to the narcissism stuff that I used to deal with when I was younger. So hate me for who I was, hate the person that I used to be. That was me kind of being able to talk from 2 points in my life. That's where a lot of that creativity comes from, where I could speak as the person that I used to be because I am him, but I'm not him anymore. It's just a matter of switching your mentality to be able to rap that way and talk to the fans and talk through the mic that way, talk from your heart from that way. Whereas then Love Me for Who I Am, that was going to be the second part of the album. I was just going to release the whole album as one thing. And yes, that album is still coming. Don't worry. It's taking its time, but trust me, it'll be done. But that's going to be the second part of the album where you're going to hear a different side of me. You're going to hear the side of me like I am now, where you can hear I'm a much more forgiving, less vengeful spirit of a person. I'm a much happier person too. So definitely, if you are feeling ways in life and you want to be happy, let go of the shit you're going through. You also have Boy Who Shot God. That track was the track that actually was the inspiration to make the album like that, Hate Me for Who I Was. That track was the OG. If you watch the video where I am like killing the other part of myself, that is like the music video for it. That is where it started. That's where that era started. So that is what started this whole shift into who I am now. That track was big enough to do that, and that I think is underrated track, but a very big track in my career to set me off to the way I'm going now in my path and my journey as an artist.
Oh, that's facts.
And then Mob Ties, probably one of my favorite tracks I've ever made. That track comes from a big breakup in my life, but it also comes from a lot of anger that I was speaking into the mic too. Because anytime I rap, it's all emotional. Everything comes from the heart. I'm talking about my life stuff. I talk about what I'm going through, or maybe what my mind might be thinking, how I'm feeling. So that comes from that too. And then you had, which one did you also say? Y2K, yeah? So Lottery Y2K was a little bit of a outlier. That one was meant to be something that was kind of a throwaway originally, but a lot of people liked it. Means he neatly had Y2K on there, and a lot of people liked that track. A lot of people liked the sound from that track. I was trying to use the little Y2K name to kind of blow the album up, and it did work a little bit. So I think that's where a lot of the creative inspiration came from. You know, we was trying to make something cool, make something a little bit different, and it worked out because it was still catchy and it was still like melodic. It was still like the sound that a lot of people are listening to with a lot of the musicians we have now, a lot of the artists in the underground. But at the same time, I'm not like a lot of these other guys. And a lot of people say, oh, you're just saying that. No, I'm not like a lot of these other guys. I'm actually lyrical. I don't mumble my stuff. I interact with people and I'm not afraid to speak my mind. So I'm a lot different. And that'll translate in my music. So I think Lottery Y2K and All on Green especially, those two tracks together is like, that's meant to be me. That's like the truest form of me right now is I don't care. I'm betting on myself. That's let's get this green.
Okay.
That's all it is, man.
Oh, that's facts.
That's what I
And
would say.
like, I mean, with the whole like Toronto underground stuff too, because like Ski and X, like they were a part of the underground like in their era and all that too. And like I could like say the same for you with this like upcoming scene in Toronto. So how do you feel about the state like right now, especially with a lot of platforms like First Class, DieselCon, Vampires Prom, and like even like Social Outcasts like taking over and all that?
Oh man, this was the question I was waiting for. So I am so happy to see that we got things like First Class Fest and Coda Toronto doing their thing. Big shout outs to both of them. I'm trying to get to First Class Fest. So Lottery, Jake, or whoever's running First Class, get me on there, man. Give me the biggest crowd you can give me. I'm gonna make sure we turn them up, bro. I'll open up for anybody, Kato or anybody. It don't matter. But I think they're doing their thing in the scene, and they're doing a great damn job of it. Shaq Diesel's is a massive dot connector. He's a massive mogul in the industry. You know, he's moving a lot of the scene towards everybody's lap, and he's putting it in a way where everybody can get in, but everybody that actually is serious is the people who are actually gonna go up. And that's the difference. So everybody has access, and that's the best thing. And I think that's big for the industry because everybody getting access, not everybody's going to go up, especially not immediately. But when you kind of see that everybody has access, you get to see all the talent that you have. And Quoted's a big part of that. Fuck the Numbers is a big part of that. Shout out Virgo Parks for that too. And I think we're going to have a lot more too. I'm even trying to plan a little bit of things myself. There's nothing concrete yet, but I'm definitely looking to get things in motion to do another show myself. I think that would be pretty cool. But I honestly think I love what they're doing for the culture. I think we actually need more of those shows to happen. And you know what we really need? We really need a DieselCon 3.0. It's been a little bit. It's February, so hopefully next February we get some.
Yeah, that's crazy. Like to even speak more about Shaq too. So crazy story because Shaq was very like popping like 2017, 2018-ish, more like as a tastemaker in that sense too. If you go to like I think one of the old like We Love hip hop interviews too, he was actually in the same room as Chroma. So basically, Chroma's was like kind of like doing like a little interview with this guy named Kid KO, who's like from Spain and all that too. So Shaq was like working with Kid KO at the time too, alongside Chroma's and like helping like Chroma's throughout the way too. So like not only has he helped the underground in, like some ways too, he was also tapping with like Chroma's, Kid KO, and like even like a lot of like people like underlining to like he was like doing some stuff with like Universal for a bit too. So it is amazing to see like the growth of how he was like before versus like now and all the
True. And like that's very respectable stuff too, because literally, can you name anybody else that's doing crazy things too like that? Not really. Yeah. Also, we also missed another guy, One Track. You know, that's our version of you know, our rap page. You know, No Jumper. That's gonna be you guys for sure. So I feel like everybody that's putting on their little pieces to build the culture, that is the biggest thing that we can do. The one thing that the culture has to change is the people who consume it. Y'all gotta put. If you're gonna pull up to a show, fam, why are you going to stand there and act like you too cool or just leave halfway through the show when you paid full price to get in? Even if you get in for free, why you coming up just to watch two people and stand around? It'd be like, oh, I got to keep my aura points on me. Ain't nobody care about your aura, man. Just come, pull up, have fun, pull up, and don't be afraid to jump in the pits, man. Like, you don't come to these shows to sit around, stand around, do nothing. And I noticed that's a big thing. I even just spoke to Drex about that yesterday when he did his show. He said it was big demotivation. I'm like, I don't even let that demotivate me no more. I don't think none of our artists should. Don't let that stuff demotivate you. If anything, use that as motivation to change the culture and shift the consumers that listen to us. Because those people that are standing around, that's not our demographic. The people who come to every show, who make sure they can show out. And, you know, even if it's their first time, they come up, they pull up, they leave with a bruise or two. You know, you had fun. You enjoyed that. And you actually came to mosh and enjoy that. You don't just stand around. You feel me? I feel like that's the biggest thing in the culture that we can change.
Yeah. And like, you know, you're actually talking about like No Jumper for a bit too. So how do you feel about the current state of like No Jumper right No.
Man, it was a long time coming. I hate to see it the way it is, but you know, I think Adam 22 got very complacent where in where his spot in the industry, and then eventually he did the things with his wife, and he lost all of his credibility. So nobody really rates him like that anymore, and that sucks because he used to be a very good guy until he became the police.
Yeah.
So the thing about him is, it sucks. It sucks because it's a big loss towards a massive media mogul that's been here since essentially the beginning of when we really started this movement for the independent way. But now we have, and it's good that we have a big spot that's open. And I think, Lenza, Yashu, you guys could definitely take it over. You guys could definitely be a big change.
That's facts, man. I really appreciate it too. I mean, you have like OGM too, Our Generation Music, Hakeem, who actually used to work at No Jumper, like is like kind of like running big it right OGM now with like too. ML too. Mm-hmm. Kids take over too. I think what Ardent's like doing like is like very interesting as well too, and like a lot of like other platforms too. I think with No Jumper, because I casually check it out like here and there too, I think they're more focused on like the politics, like the street stuff than what they were like really popular with too, because like when it came with like 80, T-Rel, Duno, and then it led to other people like Flacco and like Remo, who not a lot of people are like fan favorites up to like Brick and like Lush and all that too. It kind of changed the demeanor of what it was like before versus like now and all that too, because like now you're having like Crip Mag and like 4Extra being like too popular than like the next like underground like artist too for a bit, because I think the last one they had was I think Dom Corleo or something like that.
Shout out Dom Corleo. I did see you when you were up here with Autumn and everything. Shout out to Autumn too. But I did see them pull up. If he's the last guy that he had on there, he's not even underground anymore. I'm pretty sure he's up. So it's been a minute since I had decent people come on the show that were actually up and coming. So look at the state of it now. It makes sense, don't it?
Nah, that
sucks to see, man. It sucks to see.
Yeah. I mean, hopefully it does come back in a way, but I think Hakeem might have taken over that too, and like a lot of like other stuff too. But
I hope so. At least we need a new figurehead for No Jumper to work. I don't think Adam 22 really cares about the business the way he used to. I don't think he has love for it the way he used to, which is like, I'll go back, I'll watch his ex interview. I'll go back, I'll watch his old interviews. Like I think he even had a 6ix9ine interview before he snitched. And you could see the difference between him and the same interview he did with him after he got out. Yeah. You could see the difference in demeanor. So yeah, like the guy's just not who he used to be. He he fell out of love with it, and it ended up biting him in the behind, and like it bit him in the ass, man.
Yeah, so facts,
I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah,
he's all right. Hopefully it does come back though.
And to get back more onto your background too, like how would you define your role like in the Toronto underground scene and like the impact you've made in a sense?
I don't know. I can't too much speak to the impact that I believe that I think I have. I do think I have a decent impact in the way that, people are starting to recognize me, know my name. Anytime I go to a lot of these venues, they'll say, WishGxd, like, that's been something cool that I've been looking into. I'm a very humble guy. I don't like to have an ego. I don't like to be like, oh, I'm the biggest guy. No, man. I could have 1 million listeners. I still want you to treat me like I'm some upcoming guy with like 100 listeners, man. Like, so really and truly, I think to speak towards that, I don't think that I've had, astronomically large impact like someone like Kato Zai, who's someone like, he's relative in size to me, but he's still a bigger artist than me. I haven't gotten to that point yet. I think there's still levels to this where you have guys like 10K Moss, Wavy Jackson, Kato. Those guys are doing First Class Fest. And then you come down a bar, you have guys doing Quoted and Fuck the Numbers, right? And then you go below that, you have other people who are still just now putting together their shows and stuff that aren't really made in the city like that. So I think I'm at that midline level where I'm starting to slowly get myself to the elevated section. I just need that opportunity to be given to me by any one of those guys, and I'm there. So I'm a very real dude. Everybody that comes across me says I'm a very real dude. I'll always be a very real guy. I'll never say no bullshit. I don't pick no sides, no problems. I don't do none of that. I'm a very real guy. If you're wrong, you're wrong to me. If you're right, you're right. I'll defend you. That's how I am. So I think in the culture, I think I'm solidifying myself as someone who's a very real dude who's okay with helping other people. I don't want to step on nobody's heads to get to the top. You don't have to. We can all eat. We can all get a plate. If my plate's at the top of the table, though, that's what I'm going for.
That's facts, man. Like in all due time and all that too, because it has like a process to kind of get to the top, to kind of like play your cards right too. And I definitely see you like on that same level as like Kato, like 10K. I mean, even like other people, like what Don Valley too. You know, like I think.
Shout out Dom too. I did see you earlier in the year, man. Me and you got to get tapped into it.
Yeah, man.
Of course,
But
shout out to him too.
you know, you're running also like certain social media pages as well too. Like you have like Rap Supercharge and like Sonus Magazine. So how did those come about, and like how was it like, you know, like running like social media pages?
So Rap Supercharge actually doesn't even exist anymore, but that page was the first page I ever ran, and I made like $400 off that. I didn't make too much, but that page is what taught me to get into social media marketing, which then eventually, I think it took about a year, 2 years. Eventually, I moved over and made Sonus Magazine, and I was working with Cold Heart Promos back in the day when we made that page. I think he's Underground Sound now, but I'm not sure what he runs now. But I used to run that with him, and we ran it pretty well for about a year and a half. We made a lot of money. We made almost close to about 4K total over time. And, you know, like as a young kid, I was like 16 when I made that business, man. So this was like when I just started making music, when I just started doing everything. So I've always been a jack of all trades to do that. So I realized as a musician, as an artist who's right in the scene, I'm so directly entwined with this. I could get anybody put on. I don't need anybody to go out and tell me who's doing that. I don't need no A&R between that. I cut out the middleman because I am the middleman now. So if I'm also the musician and I'm the guy that's writing everything, that's how Sonus Magazine became an idea to me, where it's like, I can write about this, do all of this, and still just be an artist and still come up off that while having this as a side thing. And that's eventually why it became what it is. I made the website from scratch. I made everything from scratch.
That's facts, man. Nah, it's amazing to see and all that. And I mean, like a lot of like media pages too, like they start off slow, like working their way to like with like local artists too, or like local stuff too, and like they'll do it like for the free. And then like when it gains like a lot of like traction too, like then they'll start taking like money, like in that sense too, like as you said and all that. And I want to also ask, have you worked with like, you know, certain like labels before, like if they reached out and like promoting their artists and all that too, like let's say a Def Jam or like a 10K projects and all that?
Like if they were to hit me up, you think I would take like a deal from them?
Like, you know, like sometimes too, they'll reach out like to like certain like platforms. They've done that, I think, with like academics and then Six Buzz and all that too. Like, did they ever like reach out to you like in the past too to promote their artists?
No, not as of yet, man. I have had a few like people who come from them that might have hit me up here and there in passing, but nothing too concrete in that regard. I did just get into some new opportunities that I could actually get people to, you know, to Rolling Loud, Coachella, stuff like that. So I'm just now really ramping things up this year. So, you know, if labels do end up hitting me up, I'll actually have things ready for them if they really want to get tapped in. A lot of people think it's like, oh, this fake. I'm like, bro, if you think it's fake, come and invest and find out, because it really isn't. I wouldn't offer something like that. Like I said, I'm a very real guy. I wouldn't lie to somebody about that. I myself got scammed for $2,000 because some guy said he wanted a track from me early in the year, and guess what? He took my $2,000. I had to pay the damn bank back.
Yeah, and I know what you mean, man.
So
yeah, like
fun.
sometimes too, it's like, you know, playing your cards right as well too. But there are like ones that are like very like genuine too. Like I remembered when I was like working on like the Lens of Yashu page, like for the most part too. I think the closest I've had gone into in the industry. So basically, 10K projects. So like there was like a guy named Josh from 10K who is like legit and all that too. I did my research. Basically, they wanted me to promote like one of their artists for a bit too, and he's like kind of like a funk rapper, like PHONK, like not like funk, like funkadelic and all that too.
Like funk, yeah.
So basically, that guy, the artist actually used to be a part of Scheme Posse, which was like a label from like Lil Peep and like Ghostman and all that too. So basically, like he was like releasing like a lot of music. He's making his whole come up sound and all that too, and like did some promo, and then like it led to like a lot of like interesting opportunities too, and like it led me to actually covering like one of the shows like when they were like in Toronto a while back too, and like, you know, you never know who you're gonna meet and all that too, and like
That's true.
Yeah, and it's all about creating the connections and all that too. Like it also led to me like I think getting like one of my interviews, like one from the industry too. G Miller from like Ava Shaw and all that too. Like shout out to Ava Shaw, shout out to like G Miller and all that too. Like you never know who's like connecting with your stuff too, because like someone's like always watching the way, you know.
Always.
Yeah.
People are always watching. People are always like, you know, they're always looking, and they might not seem obvious. They'll never make it obvious. That's just how people are. But they're always watching. Even the people that you think are too big for you, they're always watching. They're always looking. So trust.
That's facts, man. And you know, like there's like a lot of like Toronto media pages like nowadays too. So do you ever feel like pages like Six Buzz, Real Toronto News, Keep Six, and like We Love Hip Hop are giving like a good name for the Toronto music urban journalism, or would you say it's like kind of like different nowadays?
I was coming up when six balls were doing all all the antics with all the fighting, all the stuff that they were doing back in the day, and when I was in high school, I think Wave Room hasn't really changed in too many years. I don't even think they push artists nearly as much as they used to. And that's because, the money's just not there. They get more money probably posting normally nowadays as it is. Six Buzz pushes whoever pays the most, and most of the time they pay, they're not even that good to me. Sometimes they have some really good things that I'm like, okay, y'all can pop off. Other times is mediocre at best.
Yeah.
So I would say it's a hit or miss for me from both pages. Sometimes you get some good, sometimes you get some bad. But if I need some good content, I'm not even gonna watch their pages for new artists. You know who I'll come to? Elevate Up Entertainment. That's who I'll go to. Shout out Elevate, by the way. But that's a page I would go to because those guys always have some new artists or have new music that's coming up in the underground that is good. Is good substance. They don't post nothing that's bad or paid for,
No, that's facts. Because like nowadays too, it's like more like politics and everything else too. So when you look at like the top two, like Six Buzz, Keep Six, it's like music and kind of like the right wing stuff, and then you have real Toronto news, like kind of like within that scene left too, and then you have Six Sounds, T.TV,
Mm-hmm.
Six Trenches. That's like more like the hood stuff and like the hood rappers. You're not seeing like any underground rapper there, and then you have like kind of like people like me, we love hip hop, like all those people like promoting the music and like all that type of stuff too. And then you have like the ones that are like kind of coming up too. So like it all depends on the dichotomy, and like also like the ranking system of like how like media pages are kind of like ran in the city too. And it all depends on like accessibility too, because if you're like a 35, 40-year-old person from like, I don't know, Burlington, that's like that only wants to read like the news and all that, you're gonna like get it from like Six Buzz or like from CP24.
True.
But like if you're trying to connect with like the hood stuff or like the fuckery, like you're tapping in with like Six Sounds and all that too. If you're only tapping with the music too, which is like kind of like the people who either make music or producers or like tastemakers, you're going to like We Live Hip Hop or like some other stuff and all that.
Yeah, or like even Hyperpop Daily is doing better than most of our pages now. So I mean, yeah, it depends on where you go for your media, right? And at the end of the day, some of them, they just whatever pays more, whatever gets you the money in your pocket, that's what they would do. I get it.
Yeah. But I know like I think there was like one person who ran like a media page that actually lost her life like a while back to Shadawa, like which is
like I did hear about that, and I don't even remember the circumstances behind that. I'm pretty sure it was actually a hit that was done. So that sucks, man. I'm pretty sure he was from Brampton too.
She actually
she's
actually from Ottawa. So basically, she I think was like affiliated with like a rapper named Bada, and like Bada is also like affiliated with like a friend of mine too. So basically, like it is like kind of crazy to see like the circumstances too. But like you never know who runs these pages because you're gonna have like people who are like 30, 35-year-old men running it to women who are like in their early 20s and all that. So
that's how they do it.
Yeah. But like to speak more on like your massive like social media following, because I think you have like what over 15,000
15K now, man.
So what were like some techniques that you've used to gain and connect with like those audiences and all that?
A lot of ways to connect with a lot of different people. You have to be consistent. And I know a lot of people tell you, oh, you have to be consistent, but you also have to know when to take a break and take a long break and make people miss you and miss your content as well. Not at a point where they get bored of waiting for you, but to a point where, as you're posting, they're like, they're waiting for the next best thing. They're like, man, he's posting some good stuff. Because sometimes, at least for artists like me, it's quality over quantity. I can't be the artist that sits in the studio and makes 5, 10 different tracks. No, I'll write out everything, and it might take me a long time. But once I drop those tracks, every single track is a hit. Why? Because I take my time with them. That's how I do it. So I think to build that, you have to be a very specific kind of artist to build that kind of way. Whereas like you have guys like Cardi, they used to post a lot more, and then once they got big, they stopped. We get like one drop, maybe 2 years if we're lucky, and maybe it's a single. It's a garbage album, or I don't know. But no, genuinely to build the audience, it took me years. I've been building this audience for years. A lot of these guys that first started with me were people I went to high school with that, eventually started to realize my music was taking a different direction. Like after Skywalking, things just went, it started going way up.
Yeah.
So to build that, some techniques I did use, I have my own media pages. I would connect with other media pages. I would do trades with them to see, hey, I post another thing that you got. You post me, I got you. Or sometimes I'll hit up pages when they're free. They give out free posts. Take advantage of those too. And obviously, you have to pay for some of the stuff too. But if you can get it for free, get it for free. You know, build those connections with a lot of people. You know, I'm living the example of it right now. But genuinely, don't be afraid to like try and get things for free. Don't be afraid to do business with people. And if you're a page, if you are running a page right now, let me tell you, don't be afraid to do business with people. Don't just go after the money, because if you just go after the money, you will not grow. Period. I do that. I do this. So I could tell you, if you're only after the money, you're not going to grow. Same thing applies with music, because you're not going to get paid until you're doing millions and millions and millions of streams. Even if you're independent, you know, you're making most of your money off touring, off of merch, everything like that. So don't be afraid to throw money back into this too. Advertise your stuff. Look for different ways to advertise your stuff. A lot of playlisting, but just be consistent, be who you are, post a lot of content, talk to other pages and take strategies out of their playbooks, you know? It's all free range, it's all free media, it's all free real estate, man. We all have it right now. We may as well take advantage of it. So don't be afraid to post when you can. Don't be afraid to make people miss you. Don't be afraid to put money into this, and don't be afraid to do business with them, because at the end of the day, if you do not have a budget, you have to figure out what can you offer somebody if it's not money. Give them a shout out. Maybe say, hey, a shout out for a free story post. I'd appreciate that. You know, it might not be the biggest amount of reach, but it's something. And anything that's something can still get you one person. Because for every 100 that you get, every 100 listeners that you get, at least 10 of those people will come back and save your music. That's the 10%. That's the 10% rule. So you have 1 million people listening, 1,000 people save your stuff. It's simple. So even with 10 people, at least one person is going to save your stuff. So even if you only have 30 listeners, man, don't worry. 3 people will still save your stuff. 3 people are still listening to your stuff over and over. Point is, just don't be afraid to invest in yourself, and don't be afraid to find different ways to grow yourself. That's the best way for me to explain it from my experience, because I'm still a growing artist. I'm not even, you know, I have 15K. I still lack on TikTok, you know, a lot of my other things, because I've been growing my Instagram. If you can, focus on one thing that you want to grow the most. And once you have that as your strength, use that to fuel the weakest social platform that you have. So then you start to weigh everything out. Everything starts to level out slowly. That's one big thing I could tell you from experience, you know. But always, anytime you post your stuff, anytime you have links, like the link in your bio, a lot of people like to have a link tree, stuff like that. If you can make a website for yourself, like I have, www.wishgxd.com, go check it out. I got my merch and all my music on there. But always have that website at the very top. That way people can see that is your brand. You are first and foremost for yourself. That is how you grow your following. And then your IG comes next. Because then that's going to be like, to any A&R, I'm telling you, they see your IG first. Yes, they will look at your socials. But they open a link tree and they see that you have an official website. 50 points, man. Because it's your own brand. That shows you're established. That shows you have credibility. Once you show you have credibility to anybody, that's when you could start to grow up, and you will come up exponentially. Because I used to go to shows. I used to show them my phone. It'd be like, oh, 4K followers, okay. Now I turn to people, they say 50K, be like, holy shit. Like it's a whole thing. So, you know, don't let the followers change how people look at you. Don't let them do that either. Just be humble. Above all else, go ask Young Thug about being humble under God. That man just got out of jail, free thugger. But genuinely, just be humble and just post to your best ability and invest in others just as you invest in yourself. That is the best way I could explain it to how I got to this point now.
Yeah, factuality zone. And you know, even like basically like regular like print and all that too, because there are people that are doing like regular print magazines. Dejan Paul, who I actually interviewed like a while back too, who runs like a daily LA magazine and like a rapper core card, like he followed through with that same like style on promoting like, you know, like his website, his magazine and all that too, and like starting it as a blog and like, you know, actually making it into like actual like print and all that. And he is putting on like a lot for like LA hip hop and all that, and like the LA media scene too. And like I have seen that with his magazine too, and like the Report Card, and like that actually got so popular like over time. He had to do certain ones for certain like cities like Atlanta, Chicago, and like New York, and like the Bay Area. IE, which is like Inland Empire and all that too. He might do one for Toronto someday too.
Hopefully, you should do one for Toronto, man. The scene's changing, so now's the time before it blows up and it gets too big too quickly. Then there's too many.
Yeah, but like he did give some like good gems too. Like I definitely recommend you watch that one because like he did give like a lot of like gems and like how he ran like his media platform and all that too. And I mean he also like some other stuff like No Jumper too because he actually used to work for like No Jumper for a bit too, and like now he's working for Community and all that. So it's amazing to see and all that.
That's good. Yeah. That's what we like to see. You know, we're really expanding outside of here, man. That's what I like to hear. That's what I like to see.
That's facts, man. You know, one crazy story that we talked about before, like this all started. You had like a car stolen like a while back too.
So yeah, we are gonna circle back to that. So this was before the cameras were rolling. So yeah. Same year, by the way, same year. So I got scammed for that $2,000. That was way back in March, man. That was March of this year. And then I thought God was done with me, but you know what he said? He's like, nah, you was my strongest warrior. I'm really about to give it to you. And guess what? My $26,000 car, I worked for years for that. You know, that was a gift from my parents. They gave me that. And I took it to Toronto one day during Caravana. Dumb mistake. Car was gone. Nigerian prince decided to repo my car, guys. I don't know what to tell you, but, you know, things happen.
Yeah.
So that was a big setback for me in the year, you know, but it changed my motivation because I went from a guy that had it all to having nothing. You know, I had my car, I had savings, I had so much. And then, you know, for 2 months, almost 2 months up until literally 2-3 weeks ago, I had no car. I just got like a little beater right now, but you know, I'm happy to have that. Always be grateful for your blessings. But I had that happen to me, and that was a big setback for me. But it changed my mentality on how I look at music. You know, no distractions. Like this is something that you want to do. That life can change at a moment. That moment really taught me that anything can happen and no day is guaranteed. You know, it could have been worse. I could have been in the car when they stole it, and that could have been violent. You know, that a lot of people tell me that is something to consider, and that you should still feel blessed that you did not go through that. So I think that changed my mentality in a way. Is like, you know what, that might have been the wish of my parents to just, you know, always remain like I don't get involved in none of that. I don't get hurt by none of that. You know. That was something that changed my mentality to move smart and move different, but also to take every day as a blessing and to just, you know, be resilient to everything that you go through. Because once that changed me, I was literally at my lowest, and now I'm coming out of it. I'm coming up, and I think I'm a much happier guy after that because it showed me that you can lose everything and still have so much, even when you have nothing. I was sleeping on a floor, man. I moved into a whole new crib. I was sleeping on the floor for a good month. And like the smell of like the new floors and renovation, that didn't stop until about like 2 weeks ago. Okay. So I know what it's like to come out the struggle, man. I know what it's like, and it may not, but you don't have to come out the trenches to have the struggle. Well, as long as you're struggling in life, you have struggles. So don't think that just because you someone with 2 parents in your life that you have no struggles going on. Don't think that just because you have money and you're affluential that you have no struggles in life. You do, and they are valid, and nobody can take those away from you. Those are real things. So to long story short, to put a nice little bow and wrap that up, is I went through that, changed my mentality, but it changed it for the better in such a way that I know that my music career is going to just go up from there because I look at it in a different way. I treat it much differently, and I treat it with much more blessing and much more vigor, much more, just more opportunity in it. You know, I see it as a big opportunity that I was able to do this. I'm able to come back from that and bounce back from not one, but 2 major setbacks. Financially and, you know, transportational wise, like that's a big hit. Otherwise, it would have taken me like 2 hours just to get here. No, it only took me about 47 minutes, man.
I know what you mean, man.
So stuff like that, little things, they all add up. Little blessings, they add up to create the life that I'm living now. And I think that's, people could take that. If there's one message you could take away from this today, is to use every day as a blessing, because you only get one life every day, and you only have maybe 70K. I think it's about 70,000 days, 76,000 days on earth for the average human being. So every day you live, wake up, take it by the balls, and just go out there and make something happen, make something use for yourself.
Yeah, no, that's facts, man. No, it's definitely like amazing to hear and all that. And like, you know, it is good to know these like situations too, because, you know, tomorrow's like never promised like either way too and all that. And like to always like thank God for like whatever you have either
that's
way.
Facts.
Or like whatever spirit or everything else too and all that, you know. So yeah, man.
So if no day's guaranteed, you have to live it like it is, you know? You have to live it like it is, like it's all owed to you, even if it isn't.
That's how
you live.
Man. Likewise. facts. And I know we only have like a short amount of time for a bit too, so
Damn, we've been going for
like,
almost an hour now, ain't we?
yeah, like I just have like these couple questions left too, and
Nah,
like
it's all good,
ended
man.
off from there and all that too. So for people who want to like tap in like for your music someday and all that too, like I already have like a playlist where I already like set it up recently too. I did the post for that, but like it's updated like monthly and all that too for the most part too. So for people who want to like tap in with like your stuff and all that, it's like name 3 songs in your catalog that you'd like to recommend for anyone that might not know WishGxd or like that would like to know more about you to get like a further like introduction on like what your sound is and all that.
So, if you want a good introduction to my sound, I would say if you're someone who likes more chill music, who's not really too ready for the hype stuff yet, try out Compelled, try out Mob Ties. That's something that's a little bit more chill. Try The Boy Who Shot God. These are songs that I could say are my chill songs, my songs that you can get into when you want to listen to lyrical ability over, just hype energy. Whereas if you like to more hype energy, but you still want some lyricism, listen to Going Up. You can listen to All on Green. You can listen to even Skywalking. I don't really like a lot of my older music, but you can listen to those. And, once I get the mix done again, Badlands, because that's a nice track where it's like, it's short, it's sweet, it's punchy, it gets to the point. Like, that's a lot of the music that I have. So I have a lot of different things coming too. I think the Hate Me for Who I Was, Love Me for Who I Am project is a really good way to introduce me to different people because it's 3 different songs. All of them sound different. All of them have different vibes. Wartime is probably, it's a very catchy song. It's a nice hype song. It has a good amount of energy. You have Wartime. And Wartime you have, what is it? It's Rush 'Em. I think that's what it's called on there. It's called Rush 'Em. That one is like the 2nd or 3rd track. I didn't really like that track as much as I like Wartime, but that track has so much energy behind it that it's impossible to not be contagious, So if you really want some energy from me, that's one track you could do, or Crash Course. And then, shout out Gusha Riley too. That's my homeboy way out of New Jersey, man. Shout out to him. So yeah, Crash Course featuring Gusha Riley. That's a really big track on there. You can listen to all my music on all platforms. And if you really want some just anything else, and you want to try out some outside of the box stuff, listen to my really old stuff because I might be posting up like old songs like Killshot Shoddy. People don't even know about the lore with that one, man. Well, don't worry, I'll come back for a second interview at some point if you'll have me, man.
Sure. Yeah, man.
But those are the tracks I think that you could get a good listen to me. You could get a good read on who I am as a musician and artist. And, if you really want to find out and keep track and keep a good idea of when I'm performing, doing anything, once again, www.wishgxd.com. That's my website. You can find me everywhere on there. And all my music is on all platforms, whether that's Spotify, SoundCloud, Tidal, doesn't matter. I'm everywhere now.
That's facts, man.
That's
and
it.
We'll definitely like link that through like in the bio and all that. So, and like, what do you have going on next? Like, I know it's like the end of the year, like in a bit to like, or almost at the end of the year. So what do you have like going on next in terms of like any projects, shows, and so forth? And do you have any like closing remarks you'd like to say and all that?
So I'll hit your first point first before I get to my closing remarks. I definitely think that I'm gonna see if I could finish this album. These guys, Hate Me For Who I Was, Love Me For Who I Am. I think I do owe you guys that album, so I'll see if I could get that done for the end of the year. If not, I'm hoping to get that done for like the 1st of January, like the first week of January. We'll see what happens. I just gotta lock in some big features for that. I'm not gonna say no names. I just know I got some big things locked in. I definitely have that coming up. I might be dropping a track. If anything, I probably will be dropping a track at the end of this month featuring Real. That's Passing You. If you came to my last show at Taylor the Junction, that's how you'll know. You'll know that track, man. So I have that coming up at the end of this month. And otherwise, when it comes down to it, I have some stuff me and my manager Occupied are working on. Shout out to Big Dylan, Big Occupied in the building. Me and him, we got a little company we're starting up. We got a few plans we got coming up. So we'll be trying to see if we could get into show running for, to put the culture on and start putting on different people and, promoting artists and everything like that to the moon. So I think that's what we'll be doing for the first quarter and a little bit of the last quarter of the year for sure.
All right, that's facts, man. And WishGxd, it was like dope having you on, man. Like
sir.
a lot of like dope
conversation, man.
Yeah, man. Like amazing conversation. Like a lot of like stuff to like tap in through and like learning about you, learning about like the start from like now to from like before to now and all that. Like it's amazing to see and like we'll definitely have you back on, man. And
that's
wish like nothing but the best too for your music, for everything else too, and like it's all out from there and all the so.
That's all love, man. And I appreciate you guys having me, man. Hey, shout out to Lenza Yashu, man. These guys are going to be the next big thing in any form of multimedia, man. I'm telling you, if you think No Jumper was big, this is the Toronto version of it, but it's so much beyond that now because we are keeping good culture here. So shout out Lenza Yashu for having me, man. Big ups to you guys and big ups to all the guys that we mentioned in the interview tonight. Shout out to y'all. Big WishGxd in the building, man.
Yeah, for sure. And like, this is Josh, also known as Yashu. Another episode of TLOY Talks. You can get this on all platforms, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Buzzsprout. Check out the Patreon as well too. Like, subscribe to like one of these tiers too if you want exclusive content, like stuff like this or like any other stuff too. Like, definitely tap in on that. And like, this is just another episode with me, with WishGxd, and we're signing off right now.
That's it, man. Y'all have a good one.
Bow.
Bow.